it's not until that I like sort of weaned off of like textbook definitions, Google, my teacher, and really start to just like listen to my gut, like listen to the impulse of what I was wanting to say in the moment and just said it. That's when my readings really start to flow, really be more on the money and more accurate. And I had more and more people come back to me wanting readings and being like, oh my God, like you're so accurate, like how does this work? So that's why I'm a huge proponent of like, yeah, like use whatever tools you need to use, but make it your own. Hi, welcome to Tarot by Phaedrus. I want to share 11 specific steps you can take to develop your own unique tarot reading style. So why is this important? The first thing is, I truly believe it is your own uniqueness that makes your reading good. Tarot has been around for a long time. It's a very, very old art. It's been passed down through generations and people aren't even really sure what the true origins are. Some people say Italy, some people say Egypt, some people say some Eastern European country. I'm pretty sure a lot of people also think it's France. I kind of see it as like a really shared, collaborated, old form of art that only enriches with more individuality mixed into it. I don't think that there is a right or wrong way to read tarot, to interpret tarot cards. I understand that is a hugely controversial concept, especially to those who are super like old school, classically trained tarot readers. Here's the thing, I am classically trained too. I was trained by someone who I'm not gonna name, a very well-known celebrity psychic who you could call like the godfather of tarot reading in New York City. However, I have not completely used his ways of teaching or his ways of interpreting the cards. I have added my own spin to it, and you should too. The core underlying principle as to why your own uniqueness matters is because, remember, there's a lot of intuitives out there who don't even use tools. So you are the channel. The tools are just the tools. They're supposed to help draw out that intuition. So see as a tool serving you and your inherent intuition. This is why you can like pretty much do divination with anything. It doesn't have to be tarot cards, it can be playing cards, it can be dices, it can be freaking like tea leaves. Truly, I see tarot as a way to enhance what's already in you. There are no rules. Okay, so without further ado, here are the 11 steps that you can take starting today to develop your own unique tarot style. The very first rule or step is choose your favorite deck. The more you get to know your cards, the more they will speak to you. You have to develop a relationship with them. There's 78 cards. With each and every single one, you have to really understand the images, the symbols, the colors, the numbers. You'll be spending a lot of time with them, right? That's expected. So might as well start with a deck that you really like. I have two favorite decks. One I actively read with for people and with people. The other one I kind of keep as like coffee table tarot cards, but sometimes I do use them in my videos. And the reason why I use this is because they are eco-plastic, so they bend like this. A deck of cards that I go to that are very pretty to look at, and they feel very modern, and they're much bigger, they're huge. So I'm gonna link some of my favorite cards in the description below, so definitely take a look at them. These ones you can't really get anywhere on the internet anymore. I think I kind of got the last one, I'm sorry, but I am gonna link the Tina Gong and a few others that I really like. So step number 2 is, before you read, for yourself or others, always ground yourself. If the emotions run the cards, the reading becomes a projection, not a prediction, or any kind of read. So what that means is, no matter what the cards say and no matter what they pull up, what will tend to happen is that when you're feeling very emotional and not grounded, your mind will keep going to that thing you're thinking about, so you will keep connecting that back to the cards. You can deny it, say, hey, it doesn't happen, but I've seen it over and over again where when someone's really angry or sad or just overall like emotional in a dark place, that comes out in a reading. Even if they try not to, let's just say it doesn't. Let's just say it doesn't come out in the reading. They will still be very distracted and not be able to read the cards as objectively as possible. It's happened to me, like when I read things ungrounded for people, like I'm not as on the ball, like my mind feels foggy, like I'm so distracted because I'm still thinking about this other thing and not really focused on this person and this topic in front of me. So that's more on a practical level. I do believe on an energy level, you do influence the cards. As like the card drawer or the interpreter, I do believe that you influence them, and the recipient could inadvertently be receiving a negative message because you pulled out negative cards because your energy was injected into the cards. So it's really important to clear your own body, clear your own space before you give any kind of reading. The third step is, I alluded to this before, but don't obsess over the right meaning of the cards. Like Google, books, Instagram, these are great resources to learn some basic context and history behind each card. But after you develop your own foundation, just roll with the punches and really focus on developing your own intuitive meaning of each card. And if you find yourself like having forgotten a meaning, don't say and don't think like, what did Google say? Like, what did it mean? Like, don't try to like go through your memory to like dig up what that means. Just riff. This whole process is like a system of trust. It's a practice of trust. Like, you really just have to trust that you will be guided and impulsed to say the right thing at the right time. And it's different. It's okay if that is different every time for the same card. I also think that ironically, once I stopped trying to remember the meaning so hard, that I remember them better, if that kind of makes sense. Another really important thing to note here, and I hope I say this correctly, is that even if you do remember the right meaning of the cards, it still does not matter. What really matters, like I keep saying, is your own meaning, is your own experience with the cards. Rarely have I seen a very impressive reading that was a result of like perfectly memorized definitions from Google. I would be like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. But when the person used their own interpretation or intuition, it did make much more sense. So it's not cookie cutter, just remember that. The fourth step you can take is to observe the cards over time. And this is what I mean. Tarot is not an overnight practice. It takes a lot of different situations and scenarios for you to sort of almost develop like an archive of all the different possible meanings over time. There are certain cards that have 3 or 4 meanings in one card, and they come up in different situations combined with different cards. So that's something that I would have not figured out in a week or a month. It took years after multiple readings of people. Tell myself over and over and over again, oh my god, this person's going through this, and that's why they got this card, and this person was going through this, and that's why this card came up reversed. Like, you have to do like a mental documentation. The big takeaway here is be patient and just try to remember what comes out when. I've seen a lot of like learn tarot in like 3 weeks, or like take this one course and be like tarot certified. It really truly takes experience and a ton of observation. And also try to read for different demographics, different types of people, different situations. That's how you really expand your knowledge and your archive. The fifth step is start with one card. You know now a textbook, like a Google definition of a card. Start with that and start to overlay your own meaning on top of it. So then you have 2 meanings and start to fuse the 2. So for example, Ace of Cups, according to Google, I believe it says overflowing with love. The way I personally interpret Ace of Cups is just feeling really good. It doesn't have to be love. Combined together, the way I have come to interpret that card is like the heart being full, right? Because the different things ignite the heart energy. Sometimes it is love, sometimes it is just like your dream, your desire for like a better future. It could be any of those things. It can be anything that like stirs the heart, that extends beyond just romance. So I would practice these, what I call like fusing exercises, like fusion of like the different meanings, and add it until it makes sense, or until it like really resonates with me. The Ace of Cups example is something that I tweaked over the years to finally get to like just feeling good. When I first started out, I made it about love, and then it wasn't until like way later that I realized, oh wait, it's not always about love, but sometimes people feel so good to a point where they feel like they're in love, but it's really not love. So that is something that has helped me out a lot, just practicing one card at a time. Step number 6 is then combining 2 cards. You guessed it right. The exact same thing as step 5, but just doing that with 2 cards and seeing how the 2 cards, which are a fusion of 2 different meanings, what they would mean if you put them together. This is also where your meaning really starts to matter, because if you take 2 tarot cards and just use like the textbook definitions and put them together, they don't always make sense. But if these 2 cards also have like the hidden subtext meaning that is yours, you'll be surprised at how they start to make sense together. So let me see if I can do this. For example, like Ace of Cups, Google would say love. I think it's about feeling good. together I have determined that it means like stirring of the heart. Let's just say that is combined with Ten of Swords. Google would say Ten of Swords is pain, depression. I think depression is like the number one definition of Ten of Swords in Google. The way I define Ten of Swords is betrayal, feeling really hurt. Sometimes like getting fired, a job change. So together what I have come up with for that is change, like a very painful change. It felt generic and yet specific enough to apply to this card. So combining that with Ace of Cups, if you just use a Google definition, it's like, it doesn't make any sense, right? Like, wait, it's like you're overflowing with love, but you're depressed. The energies of these two cards are so polarizing. So when I overlay my own definition, it kind of goes something like this. It seems to me like what used to make them feel good is no longer because there has been a painful change. One ended because of the other. That's how I would interpret it. But I couldn't get there without my meaning have evolved. So that was a very quick example. I hope that was not confusing. This is a practice you have to start doing, like 1 card, 2 cards. And again, I just showed you my way of fusing and then interpreting. You could have a different way. Maybe you just sat there and listened to me and you were like, that's not how I'd interpret it. And that's totally okay. What matters is when someone gets a reading from you, this is going to be how you interpret the other person's energy, and the cards that need to come out at that time to serve you will come out. You just have to trust it. You just have to trust the process. This is just kind of how it works. The 7th step is speak out loud. So what do I mean? Don't read inside your head, even when you're by yourself. Speaking out loud and hearing yourself talk and hearing yourself like hear the definition of the cards, like not only does it help you with actual like speech, because half of giving someone a reading is delivery. The other thing is, I believe there was something magical about the sound of the words, and I believe they each carry some sort of frequency. It's almost like you're giving yourself like an energetic feedback loop, which then amplifies the information that you receive. It also helps you remember how you read faster. Like for me, I get so much information and I just have so much stuff sitting up here all the time. I feel like what comes out is complete garbage. It's like only 10%. So when I speak out loud, it's like a forced way to practice and discipline myself to like get it out of my system, even if it's hard. Because when you read for someone, you can't have someone sit in front of you and be frustrated and trying to figure out what you're trying to say. So like more practice, the better. Step number 8. Pay attention to the thoughts, feelings, and emotions that come up. It could be even images or memories. So you'll be really shocked to know how many times I pull some cards and before I even speak or start interpreting them, I get a certain emotion. Or I get a flashback of a memory. Sometimes I even see like certain imageries. And for a long time, I didn't say them. I would just keep them to myself. I thought it was irrelevant. I would stick to the cards, do the 1 card practice and just use that. But one day I felt really curious and I started to just like say out loud what I was seeing or feeling. Like one time, I don't know why, but I just felt really compelled to say Amazon. And this guy was searching for a new job and I was like, you know, I feel like you could go somewhere like to a bigger company. And I just kind of like sat there and I was like, I was thinking Amazon and I was like, I mean, that'd be cool. But I didn't say it until a few seconds later. I was like, I don't know, like maybe you could go to Amazon. Guess what? He went to Amazon. And he had no idea that he would. So when you get an impulse or a word or like I said, an emotion, just say it. Just say it. You know, you never know. There's a reason why something's coming up for you. Step number 9 is don't force it. So it's okay if you're stumped or stuck. Many readers I know just say, I don't know. Ground yourself, take a break, just come back to it, revisit it later. Sometimes you're not supposed to know the answer. The question is inappropriate or it's too premature to answer that. The dust has yet to settle. There's so many reasons behind it. My point is like, if something doesn't come up naturally, it's okay. You don't have to have an answer for everything. It doesn't mean you're a bad reader. It just means that's not the right time or like that it will come to you in some shape or form, but maybe just not through that time or through that format. And that's cool. I feel like oftentimes tarot readers or any kind of readers are expected to know everything or have answers to everything. Listen, we're just people. If we had answers to everything, like we would have retired. I don't know if I would even read tarot, to be honest. Like, yes, I would, but maybe not as much, or like not as professionally. I would just be a hobbyist, just being real. Step number 10, something that I am passionate about, is balancing truth with grace. Don't be a Pollyanna or a negative Nancy. Stay in the middle, like stay balanced. Your job is to be truthful as much as possible, but at the same time, being compassionate. This is just one of those things where no matter what your medium is, no matter what you do, if your job is to fundamentally work with people, this rule holds to all of them, right? Your role is to help people with information that could enrich their lives. Sometimes you may tell them something that they don't want to hear at the time. Your job is to be compassionate at that point, but still be truthful. I have seen tarot readers who are way too harsh or way too optimistic, like they don't want to deliver the news. I'm like, no, just be honest. Just stick to the facts, but be honest, but be compassionate. That's a whole art form in its own, but something that can make all the difference in your style to the reading. I believe that it's a style that can be unique. Like, you can be uniquely compassionate. The way I really talk someone off the ledge can be very different from the way someone else talks off the ledge. The point is we do it. I encourage you to do the same, but in your own way. Step number 11 is intention is 80% of the process. So what do I mean by this? And this is gonna get pretty meta, but stay with me. Remember, you are the person that gets the information. The tools are, the tarot are they're just tools. The tools will adapt to you and your intention. It's not that you adapt to tarot. If you ask, when will this happen? And you draw some cards, don't interpret the cards as if, like what Google would say. Interpret it in the context of truly a timeline. Like, you pull 5 of Swords. Don't worry about the swords. Look at the number 5. Does it mean 5 hours, 5 weeks, 5 months? You see what I mean? Like, your intention was to ask about when. So the cards responded to your intention, your intention, by giving you the number 5. So really focus on what it is you're asking and what you intend to know, and look for that in the cards. They will adapt and transform according to your needs. Another classic example of this is that I said the meaning of the cards wrong. Like, I pull the Empress card, and like for whatever reason I'm talking about Nine of Pentacles. Just because they both have women in it, like, I get momentarily confused. Like, I construe Empress as the Nine of Pentacles. But like, turns out the person that I was reading for, that was actually the correct meaning for them. That was actually the relevant meaning for them. Like, the Empress was not the right meaning for them. It was the Nine of Pentacles, but I pulled the Empress card. This is why the technicality and the physicality of the card doesn't matter. What comes to you matters, because she needed to hear about the Nine of Pentacles. I pulled the Empress, but for whatever reason, I had a glitch with that card and still gave her the Nine of Pentacles anyway. So the card still served its purpose. Its purpose was to give me the Nine of Pentacles energy, which it did, even though that's not what I saw. I always say, like, there is no such thing as a mistake. Intention is everything. If you're very crystal clear with what you're trying to get out of the cards, it will be clear with you, even if you don't know every single meaning. So those are the 11 steps that I would recommend for anyone to start taking immediately. This is what's worked for me. It's something that I wish I knew way earlier on. I feel like some people may have expected, like, dress up a certain way, or like speak with a certain tone. Depending on your zodiac sign, use these kinds of cards. No, none of that. These 11 steps are pretty basic guardrails that will naturally guide you to develop your own style. The rest is entirely up to you. What you wear doesn't matter. Like, how you deliver your cards, as long as it's compassionate and truthful, it doesn't really matter either. When I say your own style, I really mean, at the core, developing your own meanings. I'm a huge advocate of that. I think that when people do things their own way, they do it better. It's done really well for me. If you would like a printout of these 11 steps, I have a link in my description where you can like download it. It's free, and you could just look at it until you remember, because I know that not everyone likes to watch a video to remember certain things. And if you have any questions, please drop a comment below. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back with another video. Have a great week.